Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Grandstand Sports Data. We're moving into week 9 here with our betting preview. We're going to give you those proven systems, bankroll strategies, also some model projections, and a few, ways to look at this week's slate coming up. We're going to break down and see where the smart money could be hiding. So let's get right into it. All right, so let's jump into it with the benchmark model results. And as always, we touch on the last 5 years and its performance. As you can see, it doesn't do very well on the spreads in the last 5 years. Moving on to the money lines, not necessarily good in terms of profitability, but we will touch on how we can find some value with those money line edges. Now, moving on to the totals, you can see it has been profitable, 30.16 units over the last 5 years. You can see its record pretty good, and it's been 2.9% in terms of your rate of return for your investment. So that's just the totals. Moving on to the money lines, like we said we'd come back to it. So the record is 667 wins and 410 losses. That translates into a win percentage of 61.9%. So if you put this into odds, you would be converting to a minus 162. So anything with a minus 162 or better, you have a slight edge to a big edge, depending on the odds that you find. Now, you have to remember the model also has to pick the team, and then they have to satisfy this number here. Okay, so what are some of the teams that are actually satisfying both of those parameters? And when I say that, what are they? What is the model picking, or who are the teams the model is picking to win? And then also, those teams who are picked to win, do they fit into this minus 162 category or better? Well, these are the teams that fit that bill. We have the Texans, 49ers, Colts, Bears, and Chiefs. I want you to look really closely at teams like Indy, San Francisco, and Chicago. They're at about minus 145 all the way to minus 160 odds. Remember, if they cross this threshold of minus 162 or worse, so they get into the minus 165, minus 170 range, it becomes a no bet. Remember, it has to be minus 162 or better. And when we say better, moving towards plus money, right? It's moving towards plus money, and the team is picked to win on the benchmark model. All right, so sticking to the money line theme, we're going to give you some of the better systems in the last 2 years. And the reason why we give it the last 2 years is because we've been tracking them here on the channel. So that's basically public information that we're giving to you. We don't want to use any other. We've been tracking them for much longer, but we don't want you to feel like you're not able to see this information. So let's start with the first one. We have the favorites on the high total mixed with the 620-mile rule. Some people that are new here, check out our other, I would say check out our betting guides and check out, I would say, when we first simmed the whole season. That will tell you what these factors are if you are new here. Well, this certain system favorites on a high total mixed with 620-mile rule has one at a 73.9% clip. It's up 6.95 units and it's up 10%. Well, the Dallas Cowboys will be fitting the bill this week when it comes to that money line system. Now we're just going to swap out the 620-mile rule for Grandstand Sports Data Coaching model. That's the model that we built here right on the channel. We'll leave a link in the description down below so you can see that. That has gone 71, a win percentage of 71.4%. Not too shabby there. See the teams that fit the bill are going to be the 49ers, Colts, and Chiefs. Now we're going to move on to another system that's really good for underdog betting, especially on the money lines. We have a blowout dog, so a team that's coming off a 10-point loss, and they're also in a divisional game. And Minnesota fits the bill there this week going up against Detroit. So, really big underdog here, but they do fit the bill for what you are looking at in terms of a system, and that system has gone 13 and 27. I know some people are going to say the win percentage is pretty poor. You got to remember, because of the odds, 13 wins out of that, 40 games has been profitable just because they have big enough underdogs. Now we're going to move on to the rest and contrarian. So the team with the better rest and they're contrarian. So they're getting 30% or less of the bets. Arizona is going to fulfill that this week. And then we got a big, I would say, when I say big, I'm talking about four factors here lining up for Las Vegas. It's going to be the dogs on a low total, blowout dog, the better coach, and the contrarian here in this matchup. And that has hit 100% because it's only been found one time in these last 2 years. So, and it actually hit on a team that was a plus 340, as you can see, having the units be up 3.40, obviously, and then your rate of return being 340%. So that was a pretty huge one. I want to say that happened last year. So, but this week, going into this week, the Raiders do fit the bill for that last system. Right, so we touched on the money lines. Let's move to the spreads now. And the spreads, we're gonna have 620-mile rule and coaching. It has a pretty damn good sample size, as you can see, 93 games. So it's getting better and better. It's not that what you want. You want like almost 500 to 1,000. But as time goes on, don't worry, these things will start to get enough of a sample size. Units are over 6 in terms of this certain system. The Packers, Pats, Raiders, Rams, and the Commanders will be fulfilling that system going into this week just to cover the spread now. Favorites on a high total mixed with a 620-mile rule. So we basically took out the coaching and replaced it for the favorites on a high total. Dallas is going to fulfill that. You can see the profitability here for that certain system. Now we're mixing up a few. We had the favorites on a high total and the coaching before it, and then we're going to add in a little bit of rest. That's going to be good enough for Detroit. So now we have a little bit of conflicting ones, right? We have Detroit here, we have Minnesota down here when we touch on them when it comes to divisional dogs and a contrarian play. So you have two conflicting systems here. One have an orange performance indicator, so basically saying the second highest in terms of these systems on the board. Um, Not too bad, right? Not too bad of a system to look at. And the final one here is going to be the rest and contrarian play. So we're taking out the divisional dog in this bottom one, putting it in for the rest differential, and Arizona is fitting the bill for this certain system. It's gone 9-3 over the last 2 years, hitting at 75%. So those are some of the spread systems that you can look at going into the week 9 slate. All right, so let's touch on the market analysis going into week 9. As you can see, or first off, before we get into it, contrarian numbers I want you to remember are built from this year and last year. So it's 2 years worth of data. And then the other categories like bet percentage, money percentage, and sharp side are going to be built on only the 2025 season. Okay, so just remember that. The top row is going to represent the spread, while the money line is going to be on the bottom for each of the categories. So that I just wanted to let you guys know for maybe a newer audience. Now, the contrarian plays, this is the category of the contrarians. These are any team that are getting 30% or less of the bets. You can see on the spread, they've done pretty well over the last 2 years, right? Up 2.13 units. And here are the teams over here that are fulfilling this contrarian side going into week 9. Now, let's jump to the bet percentage. And the bet percentage is simple, right? It's just tracking the number of tickets. And a lot of market readers will tell you that this is the public side, and the public loses in the long term, right? And you can see just in the 2025 season, based on these performance indicators, they haven't done well at all. Well, these are the teams that will be getting more bet percentage going into the week 9. I just need to let you guys know this Friday, October 31st. So just letting you guys know that. You may find it different when you go shopping. So I just need you guys to know as of today, which is October 31st, these are the teams that are fulfilling those sides. On the money percentage side, so this tells us where the actual dollars are going. So some bettors will say this is the sharp side, but it's not always. I just need you to remember that. Sharp side would be considered when a team is getting less bet percentage, but more money percentage. And no teams are fulfilling this week so far. So mostly what you're seeing here is the teams that are bet on that have the most of the bets are getting the most money as well. So you're not finding any sharp action, not just yet. So I would say that the ones maybe watching a little bit more closely, if you are looking for something, would be the contrarian sides and seeing if they cover, because you can see that they have had profitability over the last 2 years. All right, so a quick disclaimer before we go any further. So this card is for educational purposes only. We built it together step by step using systems, benchmarks, filters, and we highlighted where value exists. So we're not telling you who to bet. We're just showing you how to spot those value plays and those overlaps that you've seen through the systems, the benchmark model, all that good stuff, and put you in the best position to win. So let's start with Carolina at plus 12.5. They covered a number of systems. They cover a number of technical analysis as well, just to cover. Nothing on the money line, but it does look like a big number as well, and that has made this a 2% play. Moving on to Las Vegas, a lot of support for them as well. Support on the systems, support to cover, support on, I want to even say the benchmark model when it came to covering, but remember, the benchmark model is not the greatest on the spread, so just remember that, but the technical analysis does point in Las Vegas's favor, so they're 2% as well. Then we're going to round it off with Washington at plus 3.5. They look good as well. They were fulfilling a lot of systems. They were fulfilling also some of the contrarian plays. I want to say all three of these teams were labeled contrarian that you see here. Uh, just moving, we will touch on these two coming up in a few seconds. Let's touch on a money line play that we have liked, and that's Houston at minus 115. I want to say this is the third week in a row that we're trying to grab Houston, and it's because the market is not really favoring them. I think they got one of the better defenses. We usually talk about this in our preview show, in our recap shows when we touch on our power ratings and all that. But I do like their defense. I think they're capable of winning, and I think that they can get it done at the minus 115 number, especially with all the, the benchmark model picked them. 2% is not the craziest of plays, but let's take a look at the teams. I would say the bets that you can grab on either the spread or the money line. So you can get them on either side. I think it's what's your preference, right? Like if the minus 3.5 is too much for you on Indy, and you think that it's going to be, less than that, it could be a field goal that decides that football game. Then maybe get them at minus 160 on the money line, right? And get it and make that a 2% play where it's only a 1% on the spread. Same thing for San Francisco. It's just San Francisco. You may be comfortable with that minus 2.5, but everything, all like I want to say the technical analysis, the fundamentals, the systems, the even the market in some way has picked San Francisco on the money line. So that's why we put it over here on this side. We put it on both sides, but the minus 2.5 obviously shouldn't worry anybody. It's past that key number of 3, so it should be good enough for you to make that play if you wanted to. But I'm just saying there is a lot of support on the money line. I want to say tons and tons of support compared to getting them on the spread. So just something that I just wanted to touch on and give you that information. So that's how the spreads and the money lines stack up when you separate them out. Remember, you can mix and match these all you want. Just stick to the budgeting rules, right? The bankroll rules, 5%. So no one play should be more than 5%, and then no whole slate should be more than 15%. And if you got that in check, you'll be good to go. And that's going to wrap up the week 9 betting preview. Remember, this isn't about telling you who to bet, it's about walking through the systems, the numbers, and the bankroll discipline to help you help you be put in the best position to win. So if you got value out of this, subscribe so you don't miss our basically week 9 recap and then our week 10 preview. Also, like the video, it really helps push this out to more bettors like yourself. And then drop a comment down below. Let us know what systems that you're tracking, or if there's a matchup that you want us to spotlight this week. Actually, we will be giving you a Chiefs versus Bills preview. I want to say tomorrow night, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't, and be the first ones to see that video. We'll see you guys in the next one.